Hey, this is Stacia, and we're gonna take a look at a training game that I played on lichess.org. My opponent was rated 2300 provisional, so I don't think they're really that strong, but their rapid rating was higher than mine, so a formidable opponent to be sure. And well, I got a line that I recently studied, and this happened to me at the Cleveland Open too, but I just well, I guess there must have been a new try that I haven't seen, or I only glanced at for a second like 2 months ago or something. So I did not remember the right way forward. There's a key move, but let's have a look and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in this game it was a Smith-Morra Gambit, which is like one of my favorites. But now we have the opportunity to learn. Takes c3, takes, knight takes c3. Okay, he went knight to c6. That makes sense. Knight f3. Okay, we're going to put our bishop on c4, aim it at f7, and see what happens. He played knight to f6. Now, this is a very daring move. And for a long time, I was like, oh, do I play e5 here? Do I play e5 if the pawns are like this instead? And what do I do? Well, I kind of know that now. I know that you do play e5 here. And this is actually a pretty interesting position. Now, if they take with the knight, they're going to lose the game like right now. Because after knight takes, pawn takes, we do not trade queens. We play this. Check. That king has to take the bishop, no choice, and then we win the queen. So that's very nice. So they actually can't do that. They can take with a pawn, which this is what happens in the game. This is also not ideal, but we'll get into this shortly. Turns out the best move is actually knight to g4. But I feel like this is already a concession because I would take on d6. I wouldn't have to think much about that. And then after e takes d6, I see there is a game in the database where black held this to 2300s on Lichess. Held it, but yeah, this is not pleasant for black, I don't think. And let's see what the engine says about it. Yeah, the engine likes white quite a bit. So, well, just a slight advantage, normal advantage. But hey, that's fine, right? We're down a pawn, so that means we have more than enough compensation for our pawn sacrifice. So after e5, though, in this game, my opponent did take with a pawn. So I traded queens, and they took with the king. So once again, I remembered the lines that he didn't play. I know that if they take with a knight, this gets really bad. And this, I've had this in a lot of blitz games. The problem is that now, let's see. Actually, it's tempting to take the free pawn. I used to do that, but now I know that knight b5 is way more annoying. Like, let's just, you know, fork them. And it's hard to defend the threat. So, you know, the rook can't, it's blocked, and the knight, you know, could come here. But if they do this, we just take it, you know, then we fork. So it's a tough situation for white. I mean, they probably should go rook b8, which looks terrible, right? Like rook b8. Can't tell me you want to be black here. And well, I guess another try is to just bring the king out and say, rawr, I'm fine, I'm gonna guard it myself. But then it's just like mate in two. Let's see, where is it? Something like that. Check. Oh yeah, here it is. Check, they come back, and then that's mate. Notice how the knight takes away that square for us. So yeah, very tricky, trappy variation. Even with queens off, you know, don't put your guard down. It can get violent, it can get bloody. Especially in a Smith-Morra Gambit. And that's what I like. I like violence and blood. No, I'm just kidding. But I do on the chessboard. Okay, so In the actual game, though, he took with the king. So this is different. And I wasn't sure what to do here. The move that I've played many times in Blitz is bishop takes f7, but I'm pretty sure I made that up. And I feel like this is risky. Like after e6, you know, I haven't studied this necessarily. I feel like I should have, but I have not. I don't know if that bishop's getting out. I really don't. The engine seems to like black here, so that's not the way forward. Instead, I played knight g5, which is, again, the move I remembered from my study. So, wow, I need to study more. I did remember a lot, but not enough. Okay, so knight g5. Obviously, that looks like a nice idea. So they played knight to a5, and this is the best move. It's kind of the only move. So it's a counterattacking move. They're saying go ahead and fork because after king e8, probably king e8, you know, you're going to have to take the rook and I'm going to take your bishop. Actually, does that even work? Oh, it probably does. Because after knight takes king e8, if we try to check and they block like this, I was just thinking about this. Actually, they don't even have to do that. They just take the knight immediately. I was even thinking here, though, this still wins too. Because after takes, does this win? Wait, no, this wins for white. Never mind. Okay, never mind. I didn't do that right. But after check, well, now they can take the bishop when we're done. You know, so I'll take the rook. I didn't do this in the game because after this, they just won our bishop and we won their rook. That means that if this knight does not get out, if he doesn't get out, then we just traded two minor pieces, two very active minor pieces, for a rook that was sitting in the corner doing nothing. That's going to be way better for black. So we don't want to do that. Yeah, and I don't think that knight's getting out, and the engine agrees. So instead of that, we should do something else here. So I took the pawn. I thought this is the best way forward. I was actually mistaken. I liked the fact that when they take the bishop, I recapture with my knight, and I was like, oh, maybe this is the line, because this seems reasonable, and I'm, you know, and maybe I'm slightly better, or maybe it's equal. And the engine does say it's equal, but I kind of like white here due to the pawn structure and, well, I don't want to say slightly better development, but I'm going to say slightly better development. Okay, but it turns out, I looked at this briefly after the game. It turns out knight takes f7 is not the right move. What we should play here is bishop to b5. Yeah, I don't know if I would find a move like that without seeing it, because it would feel wrong to me. But it actually makes a lot of sense. We move our bishop out of danger, and we continue guarding the square. So king e8 still cannot be played. I would definitely be wondering, though, like, can they defend? Well, they can. They can play bishop e6. But then we take it, and they've got the rowboat pawn structure. I call this the rowboat. Just imagine those are the oars. The pawns are like rowing in the middle of the board. That's not the best pawn structure ever. It does have some strengths, but obviously they'd be much better if they were horizontal, not vertical. Yeah, and this is better for white. And had I known this variation, I would have went for this. Instead, in the game, we have knight takes and knight takes e5, and we got this. The engine says it's equal, so I mean, it's really just a game of chess from here, which is fine. I'm not upset about that. I go into a lot of sharp stuff with the Morra, and sometimes, and especially Evan's Gambit, sometimes if you don't know the move, Like, you're just worse. Like, you're just down a pawn for nothing, and that's that. I mean, here I was like, okay, I'm not even down a pawn. Like, okay, fine. You know, like, let's play chess. So bishop e6. I went knight e5. This seemed like a good idea. So whenever there's an isolated pawn in your opponent's position, it's a good idea to put your pieces in front of it, because that pawn's lonely. He has no friends to kick out the knight. Okay, he wants to trade. And I said, okay, trade if you want, but you're helping me develop. Also, I realized he wants to go g6, bishop g7. So I thought after takes and takes, you know, it kind of slows down his plan. There's no g6 now, because I would take the rook. So rook c8, castles. Looks like I was playing the best move so far. Takes. I took back. That was the best move. Because what else? And rook g8. Okay, so unpinning the g pawn. He wants to go g6. All right, and here I thought rook ac1 looked like a good move. The engine actually disagrees. So let's try to understand why. I didn't even really consider too much else here. I did think about bringing a rook to d1, but it turns out knight b5 is the best move. Knight b5 or bishop d4. Wow. I did not consider either one of those. Okay, so bishop d4 attacks a pawn. I would expect they're going to move their pawn. I think we're provoking a weakness. I think that's what this is. Like after bishop d4 and a6, now we've got this square to occupy with our pieces. So maybe like we can try this kind of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily know that was good. I mean, I do kind of like the bishop here, controlling d8. But okay, computer gives knight e4 now. And then if I was black, I would play g6. It says, okay, rook f1. Okay, I would play bishop g7. It says, take it. Yeah, it's not the most harmonized position you've ever seen, right? It's very weird. So I can understand how white's a little better here. And then it wants b4, and white's only slightly better though. So like, yeah, even the engine doesn't have any spectacular ideas here. Like, I'm actually kind of worried about like rook c2 and stuff. Yeah, rook c2 is a move. Also, yes, I know we have discoveries, but I mean, how are any of them good? That's the problem. You know, if we go here or here, they take us with a pawn first. Then, you know, then we take, but then they just like move the king. And that's that. We didn't get anything for that. If we go here or something, I mean, there's just no good, like, they're just going to move their bishop. Like here, here. So I don't see, maybe even forward. So I don't see a way to take advantage of that either, but okay, let's go back to the game. Rook ac1. They went g6. This is their plan. They need to develop. Yeah, it's just surprising to me, like, when I see a position like this on the board where white has their pieces out, they're active, the pawn structure is nice, I would just think white must be better here. White must be better. But the engine calculates to the end, and it sees that white has no way to stop black from untangling their position. You know, and in black here, all they need is bishop g7, king f7, maybe this bishop here or somewhere here even. Push the pawn up, they are done, you know? So if we can't stop that, if we don't stop black from doing that, then we're going to be just equal, you know? Now there's more pressure when we're down a pawn, because then at the end of that, then you're just down a pawn. Trust me, that doesn't feel good. Happens to me. All right, so knight b5. I feel like this is a logical try. I'm trying to stir up something, because I I got to do something or black's going to just untangle. So they traded and played a6. Okay. Now after a6, my idea was this check. Yeah, I calculated this though, and I was like, I don't know if this is so good. Like king f7. I do get the bishop. Take the bishop pair away. Maybe that's a reason to do it, actually. But I saw after this, my bishop's attacked. Like, I have back rank issues still. Like, I don't know. I wasn't crazy about this. Computer says play rook e1. Ooh, I like rook e1, yeah. Rook e1, but they're just going to step out of the way. You know, we could check again if we want. Black will offer a draw. No, they could also do this. I don't see anything wrong with this. You know, what's wrong with this? Actually, this is good for white now. Got to watch out for that check. Yeah, they have to avoid that. It's interesting. Then we can come in like this. Can't take that because they take the rook. Okay, sorry. Sometimes I go down rabbit holes. It happens. Okay, so the I rotated around and attacked the bishop instead. I just didn't see like you know, this was my original idea, and I'm like, you know, I don't think it's that good. And I was kind of right. The engine doesn't like it either. It actually wants to go, or I'm sorry, what does it want to do? Oh, after a6. No, it does like it slightly more than knight d4, but only slightly. Yeah, I don't know. So this, and I kind of missed this idea by my opponent, but I didn't like it. I'm like, oh, look, they protect that. They're going to play e6. Like, uh-oh. The bishop can come out this way now. Yeah, I don't know. Like I suddenly at this moment felt like I was just equal. And turns out it was just equal all along. There was no way to stop this. So, okay. I checked. I mean, I've got to at least put some pressure on them. King f7. Now I felt like, okay, I'm equal, but if I lose a pawn, I won't be. So, save the pawn. Yeah, and I thought I've got to take the rook here. Now, if they take the bishop with this idea, like, okay, now they're attacking the rook and the knight, so I can't say both technically, but I can say both because I attacked that bishop, you know. So now if they take the knight, I take that. So I thought that was winning, but they did take the rook. I traded. I mean, what else? Yeah, the engine agrees. Yeah, it's just equal. Never play f3, but then I do it every game. Okay, they attacked me. Yeah, now we're in the end game, and yeah, I don't know. I did feel like this is probably equal. If anything, I think maybe black is pressing here. Oh, maybe not. No, I think black is pressing. Okay. Now, I would think white is pressing if I could get my king here and attack that pawn. But that's not happening. That bishop's, you know, never going to let me in there. The pawn's taking the other squares away. So I can't really, I'm never going to win that pawn. And on top of it, a bishop likes it when pawns are on both sides of the board. So I feel like maybe black is the one with better chances here. They also have a slightly more active king. Yeah, so, but, you know, it's probably a draw. It seems drawish, and the computer agrees. So that's good. I knew that much. G5. Now, usually you want to put your pawns on the opposite color as the bishop, because that bishop wants to attack stuff. Can't attack those, right? Wrong color. It's never going to attack those ever. So I was definitely mindful of my pawns on light squares. you might be like, well, Stacia, why'd you put that pawn on f3 then? That was stupid. And I was like, hey, don't call me stupid. No, the reason is, the reason you got to play f3 in that position is because you've got to get your king up fast. You can't screw around with your king, because that other king's going to march up. And when he does, he's going to block my king out. So I had to play f3 just to make a path. It was more important than keeping my pawns on dark squares. Okay, anyway, g5. Bring the king up in the endgame. h5. Knight c3. I attacked his bishop, but he saw it. Yeah, and this is annoying. This is called domination. It's kind of happening both ways. Like my knight's restricting the bishop's restricting the knight. I feel like the bishop restricts the knight more than the bishop, but I checked. I thought, if he takes me, this is going to be a draw. I thought, if anything, I have better chances here. My king's slightly more active. He's got the weak pawn. I don't. But it's probably a draw. Yeah, that was probably the best try. And he went here. Yeah, he pressed me. I was low on time. I had a minute. He had 8 minutes. And he did press, which I think is correct. I would do the same thing. h4. So he's trying to say, rawr, I'm going to block you from putting your pawns on dark squares, because if they stay on light squares, my bishop, could come down and attack them later. And if they're fixed there, maybe you'll lose them and lose the game. Yeah, it's funny because I sacrifice pawns like it's my job. Maybe it is my job. In the opening. But, in the ending, you don't necessarily want to give your pawns away. They're like very valuable. Every pawn is a potential queen, which means every single pawn could mean the difference between winning and losing the game. So, got to be mindful of our pawns here. g3 I played. Yeah, I've got to get my pawns off light squares, I think. Yeah, g3 top engine move. They went b6. Yeah, I actually felt like that move was maybe not correct. Turns out that's true. And I should go knight d6. Man, that occurred to me during the game, but if I wasn't in time pressure, I probably would have played that move. But I was a little hesitant to do that. I just wanted to sit tight. But the idea is that, we're going to attack that pawn. And if he pushes it, that's not the same as it was. Like, the pawn is actually better on b7. That's a very nice, tidy construction. Once the pawn's here, it's sort of inversed, and that pawn's not protecting the bishop anymore. I mean, that even gives my king chances to maybe run up at some point. I don't know. Like here. Imagine the pawn's there. And then that bishop is a little more awkward. So yeah, I thought b6 was probably a slight mistake. It is. Okay, but I pushed forward. Wow, it's the losing move. Wow. Okay, I did not know this. Did not know it was a losing move. Yeah, I'll have to analyze this and understand why. So I'm not sure that I do understand why. They took with check. I take. Oh, probably because of this move. Yeah, because of g4. It's funny because when g4 happened, I was worried about it. I didn't see that move when I played f4, and I should have seen that move because it does lose the game. Yeah, so that's time pressure for you. I certainly would analyze that kind of stuff if I wasn't in time pressure, but I also should know better. So the problem with this pawn that I didn't see right away is that it restricts me, right? Like, it's going to come to g3. I'm going to have to take it. if I don't take it, first of all, they could take my knight, and I'd have to come back and get that. But second of all, they would just take here. Actually, does that work? No, it still doesn't work because they're gonna win my knight. X-ray to fund that. So, but so this is worrisome here. Yeah, I'm letting the black king up. That's not good. Really don't have any useful moves here. Yeah, knight d3. Yeah, now we take, but oh yeah, even this. Yeah, they really did a nice job here. Because after h takes g3, I thought even this is good for them. I mean, what do I do here? The problem is that I'm blocked out. I can't approach the pawn. And then when he goes here and I come here, he's still guarded. That's a bad sign. It's a really bad sign. And then he's going to come here. Maybe I could grab the pawn in that case, but then I'll lose my knight with check. So I don't know. I feel like it is lost. But he played this move, which is even trickier. I mean, honestly, I saw a fork here. I was like, oh, you know, if I hope he doesn't take my pawn because I'll go check and takes and I'll take. And then I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute, I can't even take the bishop. Like, who's going to stop the pawn? Because it's not the king. It's not the king. So, you know, you've got a job. You can't do this. Right? Like, this is lost. I can't stop it. So, okay, yeah, so g4 check was a blunder. So, yeah, definitely the critical moments of this game, there's two, it seems like, were in the ending. That's good, though. I'm glad I played the ending. I'm glad I'm going to learn from it. That's why we call these training games. I don't mind losing my training games. I do mind losing my tournament games. But it is part of the journey. I think, you know, we just have to enjoy the journey. Chess is a long, arduous process. Oh, yeah. This part of the game is pretty frustrating. So I had a cool idea here, but unfortunately it's never going to work because my opponent has a bishop. I'm going to have to sacrifice my knight. That's just the way it is. So after here and yeah, so the reason for the dancing is that he needed to put me in zugzwang. Now that his bishop's here and it's my turn, I can't go to e2 anymore. e2 was the only other square I could go to protect my knight. Not going to that square. So my knight is lost now. I pretty much got to either push my pawn or play knight h1. I thought knight h1 was a slightly better try because at least here I can play king f2 and box him out. So the king's trapped in front of his own pawn. And this looks great, but it's not because he's got a bishop and I need to make use of the f1 square. So I need to do this. Can't do that, I lose it. So, and if I lose that, then I feel like the bishop will just come over here and eat my pawns. That's that, you know. They'll make a queen. So, so actually, they're playing zugzwang here. They're not going to check me now. They're going to wait. If they check me right now, I go back. They move away. I go back. No, what they need to do is play a waiting move. Right? So they went bishop e6. You know, staying, bishops are really good at waiting moves because they can just maintain defense of something while they're waiting. So they're stopping f7 while they're waiting. Now after king f2, they go bishop c4. I'm in Zugzwang now. Zugzwang means compulsion to move. And I don't want to move. I've got no good moves. I can't go there. I can't go there. I can't do anything. I want to go here. Keep the king boxed out. If I don't, that king's going to come out and then queen. So, and if I go here, I lose my pawn. So this is just zugzwang, definitely. And so I push my pawn. I mean, what else? It is the best move. Delays mate the most. So come back here, but he knows the drill by now. So he again played a waiting move. After king f2, only then he takes away f1. Yeah, now I got no choice. I did hope for stalemate, because why not? But there's, yeah, very low chance that he'll stalemate me here. And that's checkmate. So yeah, it was a very fun game. Unfortunately, I lost it. But I do feel like I learned something about the opening, and I also learned something about the endings. Or more like it was a reminder. I don't see many endings because of the way I play chess these days. I play crazy, and usually the games are over in the middle game. Or the endings are just obvious. But yeah, this game, you know, we got a real ending. I need a little more practice with those, so I was happy to get that here. It was a very nice reminder about breakthroughs and pass pawns turning into queens. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. I only lost 3 rating points, so not so bad. So I won't even move the bird. Okay, so I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. This is Stacia with Chess is Best. I'll see you next time. Bye.